Put that on a loop until further notice, Edna. Let me know when you have that gizmo recording, Edna. I want this message to be clear. Boost the gain a touch.
Don't have the card.
Attention, all Wastelanders, Vault Dwellers, and Brotherhood operatives. And any other freelance operatives in the Commonwealth looking to earn a generous sum in caps. Come to the Memory Den in Good Neighbor to join the exclusive beta test for what will be the most immersive electronic entertainment experience since Grognak the Barbarian versus the Elder Trolls. My associate, Dr. Amari, assures me the beta test is both exciting and, well, within acceptable safety standards. That's the Memory Den in Good Neighbor. Raiders, chem fiends, and persons with severe cranial mutations need not apply. Put that on a loop until further notice, Edna. Let me know when you have that gizmo recording, Edna.
Hey.
Doc, I think we have our first beta tester. I had hoped you'd be the first one to try this. Me and the doc have everything set up for you. Says this modified lounger will work like any other Memory Den experience. You just lie down, and the machine will bring you into my magnum opus. It's a simulation of someone's memories, rather than being directly pulled from a live brain. It's a little buggy. Like this one glitch where Sergeant Plattner keeps getting pronounced Planter. Dr. Amari suggests it's something to do with the hollow buffers, but between you and me, I think she just spelled it wrong during initial data entries. But you'll be able to move around inside the sim and even interact a bit. Are you ready to begin?
What kind of memories?
This is a recreation of things that happened before I was born. And I want this to be experienced without my usual narrative flamboyance. Most of my stories turn historical figures into mythic heroes. I make the Vault Dweller and the Chosen One sound like demigods, but they were just flesh and blood people. I have even embellished a bit on the life of Roger Maxson.
I'm ready.
Just lie down in the memory pod. The doctor will start it up for you. Connection between the program and the host. Connection established.
Oh, can you hear me? Excellent. The simulation appears to be working, just as Dr. Amari said it would. The following occurred in the months leading up to the Great War, over 200 years ago, when the fear of nuclear annihilation was growing ever more prominent. You'll be witness to the origins of the Brotherhood of Steel, and how Captain Roger Maxson, ancestor of Arthur Maxson, came to be its founder and first High Elder. See if you can find the first event node I've set up for you. Should be just ahead.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Another batch of prisoners so soon? I could have still reached capacity.
Commie sympathizers, probably. Or worse, deserters.
Why don't you ask?
Decorum, Sergeant. These prisoners are under our protection. Besides, Alan, you might have gone AWOL too without that tin can to protect you.
Oh, what, this old thing? My Uncle Sam gave it to me. You hear that, comrade? Made in America.
Roger Maxson was second in charge of a security team assigned to guard Mariposa. The Codex doesn't explicitly tell us what year Roger was born. We can assume he must have been about 27 years old at the time, given the median age of captains serving in the U.S. Army before the Great War. Many in the Brotherhood of Steel can trace their ancestry back to the military grunts serving at Mariposa. In this, they take great pride. Construction on California's newest military base began in October 2076. Someone high up in Washington must have had a reason for speeding things up, because it was completed no more than a few months later.
Object 119, step forward. That one.
Your cooperation is requested. Do not be alarmed.
Got a new group of prisoners coming in. Any room?
Yes, sir. Plenty of space for them.
You're at the end of a double shift, right?
Everyone would rather be at the front gate. And the other guys just don't like playing prison guards.
Who did you relieve last night, Sergeant?
That would be Lieutenant Santangelo, sir.
As you were. And Planter? Radio me when they bring that prisoner back out.
Yes, sir.
These days in the wasteland, law and order is a precious thing, never taken for granted. When in tamer lands like the NCR, the Legion, and the Brotherhood's capital wastes, laws only apply within the major settlements. But before the war, the government enforced the law on every inch of American soil. Some crimes were punished with only a brief stay in a cell like this. But people who were disloyal to their country during a time of war were punished harshly. The lucky ones got to die of old age in prison. Others had more gruesome and immediate fates.
On guard duty last night?
Am I in trouble, sir? Colonel authorized me to take today off to work on the new suit. I thought maybe I could...
You're not in trouble, Lieutenant.
Phew, that's a relief.
Can you tell me if any of the scientists sent any prisoners back up to holding last night?
No, Captain. I don't think that happens anymore.
Ever?
I mean, I've never seen a prisoner come back up the lift. Well, then again, there was this one time the elevator broke and I fixed it in a valiant display of heroism. Other than that, though, no. The underground Einsteins must have a lot of space down there.
Could you do me a favor, Lieutenant?
Captain?
I want you to ask the other guards about the last time they saw a prisoner leave the lower blocks. Could you do that for me?
Yes, sir.
Good. I'll check in with you later.
These suits were intended for the front lines, where they would go up against Chinese tanks, combat robots, and masses of infantry, using firepower soldiers couldn't carry otherwise. However, they weren't just used in Alaska or China. They were used all over the country for homeland security as well, intimidating prisoners, quelling riots, and pacifying occupied territories, frequently against unarmed civilians. Look at that! A brand new suit of T-51B armor shipped straight from the factory. The 51s were the best line of pre-war armor. Some say the 60s were, purely because of the armor plating. But these were fundamentally upgraded T-45s. The bean counters in the Pentagon rightly wanted to keep the 10-year-old suits in service, but they inherited all the same problems of suits using last-generation tech.
Permission to speak freely, sir.
Denied, Captain. I know what you're gonna ask, and I can't tell you any more than I already have. The less we ask, the less we leak out to the Chinese. Now, do you have any questions I can answer, Roger?
We keep bringing new prisoners onto the base, but the commissary says we aren't using any more food than we did a month ago. By my count, we should have been feeding 100 more mouths for the last month. Should I notify the...
You're clever, Maxon. I'll give you that. You should consider getting into politics, son. America loves a war hero. You know, those patriotic prisoners have volunteered to aid the defense of the United States in exchange for a reduced sentence. Given what's happening around Beijing, I'd say they're the lucky ones.
Colonel, we don't know what's happening below. But don't you think we can all be held responsible if...
Don't make me pull rank, son. If I knew anything, I couldn't tell you. So do ask, but don't investigate. You and the rest of your Alaskan band of brothers have one job. To keep your eyes fixed on that front gate. Lady Liberty wants us at the ready.
Yes, sir.
We few. We happy few.
The nature of what they were protecting was a closely guarded secret. But today, we know the truth all too well.
Please!
Damn it, Dr. Sheldon. This is the 5th time you've changed the sedative, and they keep waking up. We need to rule out stress as a factor.
The Forced Evolutionary Virus, or FEV, was Mariposa's dark secret. Its effects can still be felt across the wasteland today.
Sir, Sergeant Planter is missing.
What?
Private Jensen went to relieve him from guard duty at the holding cells this morning. He wasn't there.
And the prisoners?
Secured. Sergeant Planter must be in the lower blocks, sir. With the scientists.
What? The lower blocks are completely off limits. What makes you think he'd be there?
We have this base locked down tighter than Fort Knox. He's got to be in the only place we don't have eyes.
Calling Dr. Anderson. This is Colonel Spindell. Dr. Anderson, this is Colonel Spindell. Please report. Dr. Von Velden, Dr. Anderson, this is Colonel Spindell. Report!
Sir, allow me to...
Captain, I want this base on lockdown until further notice. No personnel enters or leaves without my direct authorization. Do you understand?
Sir, I...
Dismissed, Captain.
We don't need to pussyfoot around this, Captain.
Every other possibility.
It's been 4 hours! Look, I get it. Those eggheads in the lower blocks don't want to socialize, but this is fucking ridiculous. We haven't heard a damn thing!
Yeah, but the orders are orders. The Colonel...
Our brother is missing from what's supposed to be a secured military base. Captain, I don't understand why we aren't going apeshit right now.
The Colonel's acting commander. However, the ultimate authority does lie with Washington. Their standing orders are to keep unauthorized personnel out of the lower blocks, so I suppose you could make the argument that...
Sergeant Allen. Quietly gather a few good men and meet me in the holding cells. Corporal Lyons, you go with him.
Yes, sir.
Bring Uncle Sam's tin can with you.
Yes, sir.
What's the meaning of this? Get out of here this instant!
Remain calm. This is military.
The chem's effects are expired.
Someone get the Colonel down here immediately. How did you get past the photonic resonance barriers? Who's the commanding officer here?
Captain Roger Maxson. Doctor, I believe one of our men might have stumbled into this part of the base. I'm here to retrieve him for punitive action. Then we'll be on our way.
Our work is classified beyond your pay grade, Captain. You do know you could be court-martialed just for looking at it.
For looking at what, exactly?
That's irrelevant. You're interfering with the security.
Right now, you're interfering with the security of this base. My responsibility. Jobs. Doctor, where is the sergeant?
Damn, fatherless.
Stand down, soldier. We bring this to the Colonel immediately. Caramillo, go to the holding area and consolidate the surviving prisoners into half the cells. Allen, escort these men to the empty cells.
I can only imagine what was running through the minds of Maxson and his men when they discovered what they had been guarding. Maxson must have thought Anderson and the other scientists had gone rogue. An unauthorized experiment by mad scientists straight out of a horror show.
Hi, Roger Maxson. Captain, serial number 072389 have started this log because it doesn't look good for any of us. And I'd like for people to know what really happened here. All hell broke loose when we finally discovered what those scientist bastards were up to. The Colonel has locked himself in his office and seems to be having some sort of breakdown. The men are screaming for blood. They're looking to me for answers. I'm not sure what to do. Someone has to do something, though, before this place sinks into an anarchistic bloodbath. Every time we get a report from higher up, things get worse here. The war is going in a very bad direction, and this place is about to go into full mutiny with all the chaos that entails. I stopped one of the men from executing a scientist today and demanded that we interrogate them to find out what their orders were.
Last time, Captain, I know what you saw, but believe me when I say it's not what you think. We could all be brought up on charges of treason if I say more. Does that not bother you? Fine. Let me put it to you this way, Captain. We're working to save the human species. That green goo, as you call it, allows us to seize control of our fate. We can control evolution, direct it to save ourselves in this war. Imagine a world without fear of biological weapons. An American race whose potential is not hampered by flaws, but enhanced by them.
If that's true, then why not have a taste of your own medicine, Doctor? Maybe you'll be enhanced.
No, don't open that.
Why not? It's a cure. If it works, I'll make a toast to your good health and take a shot myself.
It's been unpredictable. We need to eliminate variables until we understand the effects better. Any one of the test subjects could be the key. We'll understand more after we...
After trial and error. With a couple hundred human lives. American lives.
These test subjects. They're suspected fifth columnists. Deserters. Conscientious objectors. Surely you, of all people, can see the debt they owe to men like you. Men who served.
Sure. No sense in letting them serve their time peacefully when they can act as empty chambers in your game of genetic Russian roulette. Who knew about this?
The entire research team, of course. I didn't deceive any.
My men. Who knew?
None of them, of course. We had strict protocols to prevent...
Our superiors. Which of them knew?
This project goes straight up to Washington. The president. I was following orders just like you. I'm a soldier in a sense. A military man. Liar! If I die, you and your men will be... Please stop! Those eggheads got rogue. I know it. You know it. Everyone on this goddamn base knows it. And they've made us complicit.
If I may, I heard everything, Captain. Anderson was scared for his life. I believe what he said. As crazy as it sounds.
Captain Maxson.
Report.
Sir, we have a situation on level 3.
On my way.
How about we tossed you into that goo and watch you squirm? Orders come from Washington. We have to put him down or else the brass will think we're in on it. He's right. Put him down! Blind. You think you'll win this war with your guns, but Washington knows it'll only be won with science. We are...
I was only following orders. The excuse used by scientists for their experiments. The solace of Mariposa guards. It was the only thing they could use to defend themselves in the court of their own conscience. No other court would prosecute them.
I tell myself it was to keep him from causing a full mutiny among the men. But I'm not so sure. Come out here. I've done things that contradict protocols for dealing with suspected war criminals. You have to relieve me of my post to show the men that there's still some kind of order here. Washington hasn't said anything, sir. I don't think the brass can spare a general to come down here and clean up this mess. Robert, please say something. Sir, we're gonna knock down the door. If you can hear me, please stand back.
Roger. I'm sorry.
without question now. The interrogations invariably end up being executions. Shelman held out the longest.
No. We want the whole truth. At what point did you and your colleagues go rogue and decide to play mad scientist?
Let me ask you something. Do you think the new plague was a natural occurrence? Countless American civilians died because of that virus. It was Chinese biological warfare.
And how does that differ from the suffering you created with that man-made virus down in the vats?
In that we're saving the many by sacrificing the few. Do you think we relish our work, Captain? Most of my colleagues have been working on a cure for the new plague for 20 years and had nothing to show for it. That's 2 decades of pestilence. Thousands dead because of their failure. Our failure. The Black Death lasted half that time, you know. So, if we can't cure Chinese diseases, then the only recourse is to make ourselves immune to them. That is what the government asked for us to do, and that's what we did. What you call the green goo is our salvation.
No honorable government would sanction this.
You honestly think you're serving an honorable government? There's no honorable government in war, Captain. Our government decided to sacrifice a few deserters to stop a nationwide epidemic. How different is that from ordering a division of fine young men to die? I'm not proud of what I've done, Captain. Given the chance, I would do it again. Not because it's right, but because it's rightfully necessary. Our government is waging a war without precedent, a war for our very existence. They send you boys to fight and die to save our home. Well, they ask us to fight an invisible war, so that you have a home to come back to. If we refuse...
It's as if we killed them ourselves.
Captain.
I'm sorry, Dr. Shelman.
Me too.
The Great War lasted a matter of hours, but it was the culmination of decades of conflict. Before the bombs fell, there were the Sino-American War, lasting 11 long years, the European Civil War, and the wars in the Middle East. The Resource Wars lasted a generation, which witnessed endless conflict using ever more refined weapons, armor, and robots. A generation praying for a place in the vaults, just waiting for the end. A generation that lost hope.
Bad news situation. I managed to hack the terminal, but, well, it likely alerted the scientists inside.
Look alive, everyone. The goal is to extract Sergeant Planter without injury. Lieutenant, on my mark. Breach in 5, 4, 3, 2...
Abominations like this would have been considered failures by the Master when he ran Mariposa. They would have been euthanized immediately, or used by him for sustenance. The effects of the FEV virus include immunity to radiation and diseases, super strength, endurance, and speed. But no one walks away without paying a price. Some paid with their minds. Others died in agony as their bodies were unable to cope with the strain. Then there are the unfortunate ones who became centaurs, joining the hordes of wretched creatures like floaters and other monstrosities.
We've been incommunicado for days now, Sergeant. Nobody's calling. Nobody's coming. Even black sites must report to someone.
You don't suppose they're planning to come and tie up loose ends?
At least we'd have some answers then. I think I know how to force a response from Washington. But first... Sergeant, I want you to take the transport to housing. Have everyone pack the necessities and move inside the base. Tell them whatever you want, but I want all of our families inside by nightfall.
Jesus, Captain. Are you...
The reality is we have absolutely no idea how this will play out, so I don't want them caught in the crossfire, or used as a bargaining chip. For now, we take a defensible position until we have a clear path forward. And in the meantime, if anyone asks, this is just a routine drill. Makes me sick involving our families in all this.
We know they're already involved, Captain. The men will stand behind your decision.
This is Captain Roger Maxon, serial number 072389. I am the acting commander of the Mariposa military base in Central California. As soldiers, we swore to defend this country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Let it be known that oath has been honorably upheld by the brothers here at Mariposa. We've pressed for a response from Washington, but have heard nothing. At this time, we are assuming the worst. Due to violations of the Constitution of the United States by the federal government and dishonorable conduct of its representatives, I hereby declare our relationship with the federal government dissolved at this time. This will remain in effect until contact is reestablished and certain assurances are made. Let it be known that we are acting in what we believe to be the best interest of Homeland Security.
The civilians stationed at the base included Maxon's own wife and their son. He had no idea that he was creating a dynasty that would last for centuries.
Ourselves to be in full desertion from the army and no longer under the government's command? What happens? Nothing. Something bad is coming down.
And something bad did come. On October 23rd, 2077, the Great War began and ended. The apocalypse. Humanity pushed back centuries as the slate was wiped clean by nuclear fire. Some places were spared in the conflagration. Mariposa was one of them.
I can't believe those bastards finally did it. Damn them all to hell. It seems inconceivable we weren't targeted.
The Mariposa military base was a black site that just entered service in January that year. Passed over in the initial strike, the men and women of the security team suddenly found themselves the heavily armed heirs of a brave new world.
It seems the radiation hasn't spread this far. Since he was wearing his power armor, there was no threat to him from radiation. But if he had been exposed, he would have had to be exiled. We don't have adequate decontamination facilities here. I convinced the men we should bury the scientists. I don't know why. Perhaps it was to ease my conscience. I finally started to believe their stories. The last one was dying. My God. What have I become? I've recruited civilians to do jobs my soldiers are too busy to bother with. Many of them are skilled craftsmen, and I'm having them take what they need from the base. We can't leave more than a few automated defenses and force fields. Some of the kids are smart enough to train up as engineers for future use, like my son. I hope I'm not being one of those overly optimistic army dads when I say he has a gift for tuning laser weapons. Not a bad shot, either. The VATS make me uneasy. I'll have to hope the automated defenses can scare off interlopers, until China's next volley of missiles wipes this place off the map for good. This base belongs under a pile of rubble.
That the people responsible for the FEV were still very much alive. Fate would have it that they would cross paths again, but that is a story for another day.
Brothers and sisters, those of us who served at Mariposa learned something that should never be forgotten. We witnessed firsthand the recklessness man embodies when his science is allowed to outpace his morals. Those who called themselves our leaders checked their ethics at the door and let fear decide our future. Never again. The Great War has taught us that if we are to survive, mankind must learn restraint. Let future generations know that the penalty for not heeding this warning is an endless cycle of war. A man once said that the object of war is not to die for your country, but to make the other bastard die for his. It's a powerful sentiment, but it's not one I subscribe to. I think a great soldier is one who prays for peace, because it is the soldier who must bear the deepest wounds and scars of war. Dear brothers, I am sick and tired of war. Its glory is fiction. Its consequences, irreversible. War is only for those who have never fired a shot, or heard the groans and bloodied screams of the dying. Our brotherhood might have been born in Alaska, but it became a man at Mariposa.
After Maxson left the base, it was torn apart by mutants. Then the Vault Dweller set off a nuclear warhead inside the place. But Maxson did record his thoughts at the time. I also have access to his armor and sidearm that you saw in there. Neuroanalytics from the armor and genetic memory from blood samples on the gun helped me reconstruct the rest of it. As you saw, the Brotherhood was quite different at the start.
That was truly something.
The Brotherhood you see here in the Commonwealth is just one of our chapters, and Arthur was just one of many elders with the name Maxson. Although the West Coast chapter adheres to Maxson's ideals more closely than the East Coast. I hope you get a chance to see what California and the Mojave are like someday.
The Brotherhood's learned from the mistakes of the past and offers us our best chance at a real future.
At least now you have a greater understanding of Roger Maxson. You may even know him better than some of the people in the Brotherhood. I have something else to share. I mentioned that I got some DNA from Maxson's sidearm and his power armor. Truth is, I borrowed them from the Brotherhood. I don't think the Quartermaster knew what they are. Must have thought they were just obsolete tech for the scrap bin. But I noticed that you have a knack for wearing power armor. And I think that you can appreciate the significance of Maxson's suit. It may not be a state-of-the-art T-60 like all the kids are wearing these days, but some of the old models are a bit more versatile. I'd rather see it with you than gathering dust in a Brotherhood storage locker.
Mission objective completed.
Nice.
Operator on board. Switching to manual piloting mode. All systems not.